The Square Ball Podcast.
Final show before Christmas then. Welcome along to The West Stand. It's our new show that's out this season on a Monday and a Friday. Available on YouTube. It's in your podcast app as well. Guests from across the world of Leeds United. My name is Dan Moylan. Hello to you. With Michael Normanton. Just to my left, hello.
Hello there.
Show is brought to you with NordVPN. Ideal Christmas gift if you're looking for a last minute gift. Too late to go out and buy stuff now. You can't do that, can you? Shops not even open anymore, I think.
I believe they've all closed.
Shut down for winter. So why not buy somebody you love a NordVPN subscription with a discount? It's a 2-year plan, already discounted. We'll throw in another 4 months on top with our very special deal, nordvpn.com/TSB. Why do you want a VPN, Michael?
There are a number of reasons, Daniel. You could want to watch a sporting event.
Such as Boxing Day football.
Such as Boxing Day football, other day football, all the football. You might be in a different country and want to watch Gavin and Stacey on BBC at Christmas. That's just one of the reasons.
One of the many, many, many reasons. Yeah, you can save money on like flights, hotels, subscriptions, that sort of stuff from other countries. And stream sporting events. If you need to be somewhere else virtually, use NordVPN to place yourself somewhere else in the world. Fastest VPN in the world. You can get premium cybersecurity on top of that for the price of a cup of coffee a month. 10 devices. And that's enough reasons, isn't it?
Fire sticks, phones, computers.
The full shebang.
All sorts.
NordVPN.com/TSB. It's the Black Friday deal it's been continued. That's how much we love you and how much NordVPN like what we did.
We've done such a good job of this read.
We really, really have, haven't we? And it's time to welcome our guest now. From the Yorkshire Evening Post, Graham Smyth. Hello, fresh from the press conference. You all right?
Yeah, very well. How are you?
Yeah, good. Get ready to knock off for Christmas now?
I'm always ready to knock off for Christmas from about September.
Father of 4, so that's going to be fun for you.
It's expensive. I don't know if fun is the word that I would use.
High maintenance. Well, we're fresh out of the press conference. Enough about us. Out of the press conference, and what did Daniel Farke have to say in the moments prior to us speaking now?
Obviously delighted with the scoreline, with the performance. Very, very happy that Brendan Aronson got a goal and an assist. Good for his confidence. Good that they had 4 different goal scorers, people chipping in with assists and products. He was very, very pleased that he got to turn to his bench with, 20 minutes to go or whatever. And
20 minutes to go.
And give...
Always 20 minutes to go.
And to give a few people their run-outs. Isaac Smyth as a left-back, which is the first time we've seen that. Pretty much no peril or jeopardy in it, so to take a look at him, it was a good situation. So yeah, it wasn't perfect in Farke's eyes. There were a few things that he picked up on that he'd like improvement and would have liked them to have done better. But you can't really quibble with a 4-0 pre-Christmas home win, can you?
Did he specify what that might be? Just minor little gripes.
He didn't like the fact that they gave up 2 counter-attacks in the first half. The second of which really should have been a goal. The guy's run off the back of Ampadu, hasn't he? And he's clean through on Millia, and he's not even kind of hit the target. And then he didn't really like the first 5 minutes in the second half, where they were pretty slow at the blocks, and Kieran Brown has that header, really good chance, and heads it over the top. So it could have been a slightly different affair. And Oxford's whole thing was stay in the game till half time, because this crowd might get a bit nervy, and because they're expecting a 3 or 4-0 win, which is ultimately what happened. But had they taken a chance or two, it might have the game plan might have worked.
We were saying that on the match ball, weren't we? There's not doubt as such, but they offered a little bit more when you compare it to other teams that have come to Elland Road. They just had a little bit more about them going forward. They seem to have a little bit more of a plan, but even still, the sort of might and power and depth of the squad was too much for them to deal with in the end. But they did have the occasional moment.
But at 2-0, they didn't have 2 goals in him.
No,
I think that was the feeling of it. It's like as soon as that went in, it was like, okay.
Well, the first one automatically frames the game differently anyway, doesn't it? That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, if it's 1-0, you think, well, there's a chance, isn't there?
All it takes is an error or whatever.
Yeah, the wind can blow it into the corner or something. It takes a bad bounce, whatever it might be. But yeah, 2-0, you're like, now
the crowd was too festive.
They're not getting in.
Crowd was too festive and too cold to get nervous today, I think.
Somebody formerly of the Yorkshire Evening Post employment status messaged me from the East Stand to say he thought the atmosphere was crap. And he said he knew kind of pre-Christmas, and also the game was so easily in hand. He thought that was maybe one of the factors towards it. It was just a honking day, though, wasn't it? Like, it's a horrible, horrible day.
Yeah.
And also, once Leeds got the second goal, you knew that was it, done and dusted.
Yeah.
Like you could have switched off then.
A lot of the crowd did. I mean, I said on the match ball, which you won't have heard because it's not out yet. But at the time of recording, it went 3-0. I was actually downstairs. I'd popped to the toilet, but then saw the third goal going on the screen. And as I nipped to the toilet and then went back into the stadium, I was met by like a wall of people all just leaving with kids. Kids who are obviously like they're freezing. You know what I mean? They're just like, let's get home. This is done. You need to write your letter to Santa and all that kind of business.
Yeah, I mean,
little Jimmy,
their temporary boss. I asked him where Leeds ranked in terms of what he's seen, and they've had some tough games that they've played against Sheffield United and Middlesbrough. He said that's the best they've seen by far, Leeds United, and he's not the first person to say that, because Leeds at Elland Road, I think, are the best team in the league. They're the most dominant team in the league. But what he pointed out was the big difference between his side and Leeds is the athleticism at that level.
Oh, really?
And he's not the first person to say it either. That people have pointed out, they've called the likes of Gnonto. They did it last season with Somerville. They called him a Premier League athlete, like Premier League athleticism, where it's an underrated side of Leeds' game where they win a lot of duels. They run fast and they run hard for a lot of yards and they make you very, very tired. And they're just very strong physically.
Was it Paul Warne who said recently that
against Derby, he said that their fastest
players couldn't keep up with our fastest players.
Yeah.
And we kind of went, because we don't expect to hear that sort of thing.
But if you think about it, it makes sense. Dan James, very, very quick. Solomon can be quite quick. He's got a turn of pace. Ramazani's lightning. I still think James is probably quicker than him. But when they turn it on, Leeds, and they play that, like the Bogle goal, that one-touch stuff played at pace is so hard to defend against. The change of direction, and the next thing you know, the ball's past you, or James is past you, or Bogle's past you, and then the ball's in the back of your net. And the second half, they couldn't cope, could they, Oxford? I mean, they were just started to pass the ball to Leeds players in their kind of beleaguered, tired state.
We said that at 2-0, it was done. Yeah. Nobody wanted to be there anymore at 2-0.
I mean, and speaking of being a level above, we've been there at the other end of this in the Premier League, haven't we, as well, when you turn up against a team and you'd be like, we just can't get near them here. This is quite depressing to watch because, and I suppose the difference in the Premier League is as well, like the chances they have today where we'd mess something up, a player would go through, but it would be...
You concede in one or two of those.
It would be Saka, or someone goes through and he just scores and you go, oh, okay.
What's the point?
Well, that's not very fair, is it? But yeah, in this league, we do seem to have the measure of most people.
But as a fascinating angle that I'd never really thought about, I never considered Leeds' superiority in terms of like phicality and athleticism.
Do you think that's because we use the word physicality in the EFL to mean brutes who kick you? Like, you say, Millwall physicality, but it's a different kind of physicality with Leeds, that they play at such a tempo and they run at such a tempo and they are strong in duels. I mean, Tanaka, how many duels does Tanaka win? He is very, very strong. He doesn't play like an enforcer because he's got a lot of class about him, but as an athlete,
his timing and his reading of the game seems to be the thing that always helps him in those duels, doesn't it?
And his engine, he's always there. Like, even if you think you've got away, he'll get back at you. So I thought that was interesting from Craig Short. He said a lot of nice things about Leeds, but they often do, and there's not really anything else they can say after they've been on the end of an absolute beating.
So is that who they put up? Was Craig Short? Is he one of the coaches, presumably? Yeah.
Because the new man was in the stands, wasn't he, Gary Rowett?
Yeah, I know he got appointed just before this game, didn't he? Like hours before, because I'm fairly sure in the previews to it was saying they were still in a caretaker situation, but so he didn't have any hands-on, basically approach to this game at all. He was just observing.
It looked that way. Yeah.
Right.
He didn't Warnock it and come down at half time.
Right.
He maybe saw there was no credit to be taken from this game. He just thought, I'll leave this to you.
Well, it's a clever thing. I mean, why would you, as a new manager, come in and take a beating as your first game? Stay hands off, watch what happens, get a view on your players and how they respond, and then come in for what will presumably be an easier game next time.
First press conference, be like, Craig's made a right twat of that. I wouldn't have done any of that.
That chump. 4-0 today then. Fair reflection of the superiority. Should have been more, surely.
I say 8-2 was the scoreline that should have been today.
Right.
You don't get many of them.
You don't. But you think how many times this season Leeds could have put 6 or 7 past the team at Elland Road. They were still quite wasteful. There were really good chances. A couple of chances in the first half. Ramazani has to score one of those two, the header especially. But he got into the positions.
Was that a good save, or did he put it straight at the keeper?
He headed it straight at him.
Right.
But the thing you'd say about that is they're getting into great positions and they're creating chances against the team that sat in deep and tried to defend with numbers. So you can't. I don't think you can complain at all after a 4-0 win.
I was saying like 23 shots total, of which 9 went on target, 5 big chances. You are, from a statistical perspective, giving yourself the best chance possible there. When you're racking up numbers like that, some of them are going to go in, surely.
Yeah, and great that Brendan Aronson stuck one away, because you don't want that becoming a big weight on his shoulders and a drought, because he has been sticking them over the bar, and that's something else Farke told him at half-time. They reminded him, get your body over the ball, because Farke says he has this tendency to put it over. And then he goes through and absolutely buries one, doesn't he?
It's mad, isn't it? Like, I remember even learning that at school. That's not necessarily to say that I could translate that into on-pitch actions, but then again, I'm not a professional footballer, as you might have noticed. But yeah, they have to remind them, lean over it, get over it. Don't lean back.
Stop bunching.
Yeah.
Standard playground stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Did Farke have anything to say about our centre-backs? Because obviously we had Ampadu starting today for the first time. We had Rodon looking injured in multiple ways by the end of the game.
I sometimes wonder if that's just Rodon. Yeah. He's a massive whinger on the pitch. Like, he whinges at everyone, and a lot of the time it keeps the standard high, and that's great. Sometimes I wonder if he's just like, that's a bit sore, and then he moans about it a bit.
Yeah.
But I did ask Farke in the embargoed press conference for Monday at 1:30 about Rodon, and just a spoiler, he wasn't concerned about Rodon. He was more concerned about the cut on his face, which is like a perennial feature now. If he had an action figure, it would have a bandage and a bit of claret, wouldn't it?
I mean, that's the thing with Rodon. I think we've said before, he's sort of got the air, because he's got a red nose, I think, when he's running around outside. He's got the air of sort of somebody who's stuck in a World War I trench, just getting ready to go over the top, kind of beleaguered, windswept, almost. Like,
whinging about trench foot and rats.
Yeah. And he's seen some things.
Struijk did train, so he could have played in an emergency situation, but Farke didn't want to risk him. He wanted him on the bench, though, because he felt like if you got Pascal Struijk on the bench, it's pretty good, and if you need him to come on and win a few headers with 5-10 minutes to go, you can do that, but obviously wasn't needed, so that is good, because it means that you've got to think he's got a chance for Stoke.
Yeah. And a good game probably to get Ampadu back in when he's not going to be tested very much.
There was a bit of rust, wasn't there, first half?
A little bit, yeah.
The kid ran in behind him for the big chance. There was a couple of passes that he forced. Farke referenced that. He didn't reference Ampadu forcing it, but he referenced Leeds forcing it, and I think it was Ampadu he was talking about. Yeah. But then second half, I thought he just came on really strong, and he finished the game really strongly. He's passing the ball really well. Yeah,
you wonder if he's going to be a bit tired from that one with another fairly quick turnaround to Boxing Day. So yeah, it was maybe done with one eye on that. There's no point in risking Struijk, as you say. I wasn't actually even aware he'd made the bench. I hadn't seen the team come in. It was only when they were doing the drills at half time I was like, oh, Pascal's on the bench. Yeah, so it was obviously fit enough to do something in the game, but obviously didn't want to expose him to that risk of injury.
Yeah, it'd just be interesting what happens when they're all completely if they're all at 100%. It feels really harsh to say, but I could see Rothwell being the man to give way. I mean, it's incredibly harsh to say.
Which is funny, isn't it? Because he's been ace.
He's done so well.
Yeah.
And even today, I thought he was all right today, but you couldn't pick fault with him. Mm-hmm. And the way he used the ball was excellent. His deliveries are great. That's something they'll have to think about if Rothwell is going to make way for Ampadu, what they do with set pieces.
Because I really like how he just picks it up and just runs at people.
I feel like as well in home games, like all the ones we've faced recently, where the opposition doesn't bring a lot, in some ways it's a bit of a waste to have a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
Because
as Graham was saying, though, Tanaka does a good enough job of tidying up.
Because I think Tanaka and Rothwell do enough between them to actually nullify most things, and you might as well have the gain in an attacking sense, I would say, rather than having a destroyer. You
do have a manager though who's a realistic pessimist, as he calls himself, and he always tells his defenders to expect and prepare for the worst. And I think he'd rather have a defensive midfielder and 0 counter-attacks for the opposition than have 2 8s and have 2 counter-attacks that don't lead to a goal. I think he'd rather have total control, total dominance, rather than fireworks offensively. But Ampadu's the club captain. Like, he is going to come back in and play. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I just don't see him not playing. So somebody's got to drop. And I don't know if you rotate and you alternate between Rothwell and Tanaka, but you are right. One of Rothwell's big strengths is running it at teams. When the pass isn't on, if he can dribble past someone and break through a line and open up a bit of space, then he's got the speed to do that. but he's made a lot of us eat our words in a big way, because he just looked to me like a squad signing, a bit of cover, but he's been excellent.
And he's provided something that you could argue was missing from Leeds midfield prior to that, which is that directness. And and he's actually been forced into playing 2/8s to a certain extent as Farke, whereas actually he might tend towards the more conservative approach of leaving one or even two holding midfielders in there. But I think we're better for it. And you can see by the goal difference and the number of goals that we've scored that it seems to work on balance more than it doesn't.
Gruev more than Ampadu must be looking at this team now and thinking, not sure where or when I get back into this, because he's surely dropped down and he was kind of back on the pitch, is what we're hearing, isn't it? That he's at the start of coming back to team training, so won't be that long, you'd imagine. But when he actually gets a game again, I'm not quite sure at the moment.
It's difficult to see, isn't it? Because there's nothing wrong with Josuha Guilavogui and what he's done since he's come in. I mean, sometimes he looks slightly cumbersome, maybe on the ball, but defensively, he doesn't miss a beat. He's very, very physical. He's been fine in his cameos. And then you've got Ampadu, who is a better six than Gruev, I'd say. Certainly better on the ball, passes it forward better.
In terms of making all the pieces fit from an attacking perspective, there was a case, I suppose, in recent weeks for taking Aronson out of the firing line, but then he gets his goal today. He's left him in. As we were saying on the match ball, he does loads and loads of work, loads and loads of running, which shouldn't be underestimated at this level. And looking through the list of top scorers in the team, in the squad, it's a really nice spread, actually. We sort of framed the discussion recently about could they solve the 9 and 10 conundrum, because it feels like it's a part of the squad that's maybe not quite settled just yet. But then you look at the goal scorers and you see Pirro's got 7, none of which are penalties. Aronson 6, Dan James 5, Wilfred Gnonto 4, Bogle's got 3, Ramazani's got 3, Anna Solomon's got 3, and then you're down to Matteo Joseph, Strauch. So there's plenty of spreading the wealth there.
There is. The ironic thing is that they signed Rothwell and Tanaka to bring more goals to the midfield, and they haven't been scoring goals, but everyone else has. Yeah. So it's not really a problem, is it? Tanaka's going to find the net with one of those 25-yarders at some stage, and I'm sure Rothwell's going to hit a screamer.
When Tanaka scores, shirt off.
I feel like Guilavogui scoring would be a big reaction as well.
That could be David Batty levels of fun.
It's weird how people absolutely love him, even though he's basically come on to see out games when we've been a couple of goals up, seems to be his standard.
But it's just down to the fact that he seems to exist, if his social media output is anything to go by, just on this really, really sanguine plane where he's just pleased to be here at this great club. I don't know if he's got a social media team or if it's him doing it or whatever.
I really hope he hasn't.
Yeah, because he just strikes you as a bloody nice guy who's just really glad to be here, rather than a mercenary bastard who you can't relate to. Just like, this is great. And I didn't have a club in the previous international window. Now I've got this great club and I'm happy just here being a part of it. And he seems to have a good bond with like Willie Gnonto. We saw when Gnonto scored recently, and he ran straight up to him and gave him a big cuddle.
Everything you see, when I was down at Thorpe Arch to interview Burpo or somebody, and Guilavogui was laughing and joking with James De Bayo. This was only like a week after he arrived, I think, laughing and joking with De Bayo and Sam Chambers, and he was asking De Bayo why he wasn't smiling, and he'd already ingratiated himself with the younger end of the squad that senior players have been known to ignore, almost see as an irrelevance. You're not kind of on our level. He just seems to be everybody's mate, everybody's friend, seems to be a lovely guy. And I think we talked about it when he was coming in, that it was a win-win for Leeds this, even if he didn't play, but he has played and he's been fine when he's played.
Right, so to Stoke on Boxing Day, bit of a late one. Looking forward to that.
I would be looking forward to it if I was going, but I've decided to pull rank. Sometimes, now and again, I think it's okay just to send someone else to Stoke.
I mean, when you frame it like that, yeah,
it's 8 o'clock it's 8 o'clock on Boxing Day. It's they've ruined Boxing Day.
Donahue.
They've ruined Boxing Day. If it was 12:30, I'd have definitely considered it, but I'll definitely be watching though.
That's good of you. As the YUP's Leeds United writer. Yeah. Bloody hell. Well, we have to as well, don't we? Like you said, by that point, it'll be getting out of the house territory.
Are you going?
Yeah. I was offered a ticket, but unfortunately, we don't have the personnel to do the match ball.
So you've got an excuse as well.
So I am working, Graham, unlike you.
Yeah. Well, I'm always working, I would say, is what I would counter.
Never off the clock. I would actually, on a more serious point, I was going to say, what do you do with the team? Anything? Do you think Gnonto comes back in?
I would like to see Gnonto come in and play 10.
Right.
But I don't think it'll happen.
No.
I think he'll stick with Aronson now that he's got his goal. Farke quite often rewards offensive players who score or look dangerous, and even in cameos. You know, Solomon came on at Preston, looked dangerous. He got a start. Aronson scored, got an assist. He probably doesn't come out the team now. But physical away games like that have been difficult for Brendan Aronson. And maybe with a bit more confidence, a bit more momentum, that'll be a different story against Stoke, and he'll prove me wrong. Yeah,
he does. They say he does the work though. That's the thing. He does a lot of running.
So does Gnonto when he plays though. And Farke brought him on as a 10 today, didn't he? Played him as a 10 for a little bit. He roamed around. He looked quite dangerous even from deep. I thought he was playing some quite nice passes. At some stage, Brendan Aronson is going to have to come out the team, and whenever that happens, it'll be really interesting to see who Farke plays. I don't think he'll play Peru because I don't think it's worked. You could maybe put Tanaka or Rothwell there, but the way
I think Solomon would be another he's a good enough footballer to probably do it, and he seems to have quite decent vision for slotting through balls and things. So maybe he could do it, but I've not seen enough of him probably to know if that's what his game really is.
If only there was a way in which during a season you could add to your squad.
Yeah, in the next sort of couple of weeks.
Yeah, in the next 14, 15 days.
Just keep bringing Buendia.
Yeah,
please. Have you changed your mind? Got to come now.
What about now? What about now? We reached the halfway mark after playing Stoke on Boxing Day. It's only half a season. God, it goes on for so long, doesn't it?
It's a
slog, isn't it?
It's a brute of a season.
Do you think Leeds are looking all right? Silly. It's a sort of a silly question because draw or better at Stoke away, and we are on 2 points per game going into the halfway point of the season, which puts you on target for 92. So,
yeah, I think they're fine.
Would you say a point would be fine from Boxing Day, or given that you've got Sheffield United and Burnley facing each other, somebody's dropping points? Is this the chance to try and capitalise on that?
There's half a season to go. Like, you don't want to be complacent, but win your home games and draw your away games, and you're absolutely fine. I'd be more concerned just about the performance at Stoke and starting well, because they started so poorly against Blackburn and they started poorly against Preston as well. And that's a big thing for Farke, I think, getting them completely at it from the start in an away game. We talked to Aronson about it today after the game, and he was saying, sometimes it's difficult. The playing surfaces aren't great. The other team's more confident at home and they want to play their style. And yeah, there are two teams on the pitch that you need to take into consideration, but Leeds United have the best team in the league, I think, and they need to play like that away from home from the very start. Because conceding the first goal is so difficult for this team. It makes life so unbelievably hard.
But it also makes it good for us when we score the first goal. The first goal feels crucial in every fixture.
Yeah, it does for every team, but for this team especially.
Right.
For this team especially so. That's what I'd be looking out for at Stoke. And if they score the first goal, they'll probably win that game. Just
come to realise, do you view this in the same way that you look down the list of home fixtures, and with the exception, we've got a flurry of Sunderland and West Brom to come later in the season, but one or two games accepted, you don't really look at many home games and think, this is going to be a real test. We don't know what to expect from this game. It could go either way. Whereas I look at two away games, Stoke on the 26th, and then 3 days later, straight to Derby. This feels like a test of this squad, of what it's really made of, what its credentials are, whether it's going to be in that top two at the end of the season, because we need to start getting some away points, or more wins anyway.
I think those games are going to ask a lot of the attacking players. Somebody's going to have to find a way through, particularly Derby. You'd think that they're going to play very defensively in that game. So someone's going to have to come up with a big goal or create a big chance and take it, because the composure was lacking. Creativity and composure were a problem at Blackburn. Composure was a real problem at Preston. So someone's going to have to stand up in those games.
Right. Are you bothering with Derby or?
Yeah, I'll probably give that a go. Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not that far, is it? So
no. Good boy. Right. I don't have anything else to add apart from it's nearly Christmas. Should we go?
I suppose so. Yeah. Let's just
Just go and beat them, yeah.
Go and beat Stoke. Because they're
it's-
in terrible form. They're not a good team.
Because if you beat Stoke, it then does give you a little bit of latitude to think, well, we won the last away game. If this one is a draw, for whatever reason, that's not too bad. 4 points out of 2 away games, you got fine.
We need to get it off our back as well, this being poor away from home thing.
Yeah.
I think it might just take one win, like a place like Stoke. And even if it's a horrible, greasy, 1-0 scrambled, horrific game, but they stand up and they do it, then it will do them the world of good. And then that's when I could see this team going on a run.
It was this time last year, wasn't it? Just after Christmas was when we pushed on and got all those wins in a row. So
just do that.
If we're doing it from this position, though, we will actually pull away at the top, whereas all we did last year was make up a gap, which we then handed straight back in a very Leedsy way.
Fought to claw them back, and then
and I went, don't want it.
Yeah, had enough now. Graham, thank you very much. Enjoy Christmas, and love to you and the family.
Merry Christmas.
And we'll do it all again in January. And to you, if you are celebrating Christmas, enjoy it. A reminder, we'll be back. Next show after this one will be the match ball after the Stoke game, and then after that it'll be after the Derby game. We'll speak to you then. See you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.